I was trying to teach them to keep their heads on. Some of them really had a difficult time on solid gold. I mean, down to almost committing suicide. She was the most famous dancer on American television. Every week 10 million people watched Darcel Wynne move in shimmering gold outfits on solid gold. Playboy wanted her. Hollywood wanted her. But something darker was happening behind the scenes. In 1984, right when she could have had everything, she disappeared. She chose God over gold. She married a temptation. And today she claims Beyoncé and Lady Gaga stole her look. What really happened to this 80s icon will blow your mind. The truth is stranger than you think. Darcel Wynne was born on June 13, 1951 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Her family worked in the steel mills like most others in the area. The city was loud, smoky, and tough. It was not the kind of place where young black girls became TV stars. But even as a child, Darcel wasn't interested in staying in the shadow of those steel plants. Something inside her wanted more. She started dancing at age 3. Not just twirling in the living room, she had real rhythm, real talent. By the time she was 13, she was already dancing professionally. While other kids were still learning school routines, Darcel was performing in variety shows and on television. That kind of talent couldn't stay hidden. It pushed her towards something bigger. Then came the turning point. In the 1960s, her family packed up and left Pittsburgh. They drove across the country to Los Angeles. It was risky. They didn't have connections. They didn't have guarantees. But what they did have was faith in Darcel's talent and in her future. That move changed everything. Once they landed in things happened fast. Darcel kept training, kept dancing, and soon she was getting real gigs. Not just school plays or community shows, but professional stages and television sets. Before long, she was appearing on huge TV shows like The Carol Burnett Show, Rowan and Martin's Logan, and The Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour. These were shows watched by millions. For a teenage black girl to be part of that was rare. But Darcel didn't just blend in. She stood out. At just 14, Darcel Wynne pulled off something bold. She told producers she was 18 so she could land her first professional dancing job on television. Most kids her age were still worried about homework and crushes, but Darcel was already hustling in Hollywood. Back then, the industry had strict rules. You were underage, you couldn't be hired for adult roles in major productions. But Darcel didn't let that stop her. She simply lied, and it worked. Her dancing was so good no one looked twice. She looked the part, moved like a pro, and held her own with performers much older than her. That one lie opened doors that would have stayed locked. But the most surprising part, she kept it going for years. She didn't just fool a few people. Once, she worked with top names, appeared on major shows, and no one figured it out. Producers, casting directors, even fellow dancers. None of them knew. She stayed silent, acted older, and kept proving herself with every performance. It was a high-risk game. If she got caught, she could have been blacklisted or worse. But the truth stayed hidden. By the time anyone found out, she was already a star. Her secret became part of the legend. While most teenagers were dreaming of being on TV, Darcel was actually on it. She performed on The Carol Burnett Show and Rowan and Martin's Logan, two of the biggest shows on American television. These were not background gigs. These were national primetime spots watched by millions every week. And there she was, blending in with adult professionals and guest stars. Her talent didn't just match theirs. It often outshined them. Nobody questioned her age. Nobody guessed she was still legally a child. She danced with confidence, hit every cue, and left a strong impression. Each show she worked on gave her more experience and more respect. Even more shocking, she didn't stop at TV. Before she was even old enough to vote, Darcel had already shared the stage with legends. She performed with the Temptations and Pearl Bailey, names that dominated the entertainment world. She wasn't just in the background. She was part of the main act, dancing in Broadway shows and joining national tours. She danced in Hello Dolly with Pearl Bailey, production that would be a dream for most adult performers. She toured with the Temptations, a group that helped define the sound of a generation. This wasn't normal teenage life. It was full-blown stardom long before she had a driver's license. By the time she turned 18, Darcel Wynne already had a resume that most performers could only dream of. Darcel Wynne's journey through Hollywood was full of energy, rhythm, and challenges. In 1973, she landed a role in Jesus Christ Superstar, the film version of the famous rock opera by Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice. It hit theaters on June 26 and became a big success. The film earned several Golden Globe nominations and even got an Oscar nod for Best Score. Darcel's role was small, just a dancer, but it mattered. She stood on screen next to top Broadway stars, many of whom were part of the original stage production. Just a year later, in 1974, she appeared again, this time in Maine, starring Lucille Ball and Bea Arthur. She danced in the Grand Charleston number, though she wasn't credited. Her presence added to the film's glamour and fun. Then came Xanadu. In 1980, the film didn't impress critics. In fact, it was so poorly reviewed that it inspired the very first Golden Raspberry Awards, created just to highlight bad movies. But audiences didn't care. Over time, Xanadu became a cult favorite. Darcel was one of the main dancers in the movie, and her moves lit up the screen. The soundtrack, packed with hits from Olivia Newton-John and Electric Light Orchestra, went double platinum. Millions bought the album. Millions watched the film. And Darcel danced her way through all of it, helping bring 1980s pop culture to life. She was